why, which one does and which one doesn't, and why.
Right. Well, the way you're saying it is if we're just sorting things out. But really, the Gemora presents it as a question on Shmuel from Beitsa number 1,
Right.
and then Beitsa number 2, and then finally we have Beitsa number 3 to sort things out.
Right.
Okay. So Shmuel said essentially, if we're dealing with Chosma Shebakarka, which is a more chamordika thing because it's more to do with what we call binyan v'stira, the malachas of building and taking apart a building, then he makes a differentiation between untying the knot of what's holding the door closed, because he says that's mutter. Rashi says it's not a kesher shel kayama, it's not a proper knot, not a permanent knot, and therefore can be done even on Shabbos. But the other two things, whether it be Shabbos or Yom Tov, you can't take apart anything to do with this, the rope. You can't take the rope apart. You can't cut off this rope, because that's like taking apart a building, which even though it's only midrabanan, Rashi says, was still asur. Okay. So that was, again, we're on Lamed Aleph Amud Beis and Beitsa. Shmuel made the statement about Chosma Shebakarka, these doors that are tied shut with rope. If they're connected to the ground, they have one halacha, it's more chamor, it's more stringent. We can only untie them, we can't unravel the knots or the rope, and we can't cut them off either, because it's more like undoing a building, which we're not allowed to do. But if it's shebekalim, everything is mutter, because kalim are not attached to the ground, and therefore they have no shaychus to the malacha of building or taking apart a building. It's a so everything becomes mutter according to Shmuel. Now the Gemora says the first brisa that seems to be at odds with Shmuel. We bring a brisa in the form of meisvei, right? We say a meisvei. Who would like to start the meisvei?
Reading inside.
Well, you want to just say it outside? So go ahead and present the meisvei outside. What's difficult on Shmuel that it says in a brisa?
It says that now differentiates between Shabbos and Yom Tov.
Okay.
So that whereas Shmuel didn't really worry whether it was Shabbos or Yom Tov, he says on Shabbos you can release it, but you can't cut and you can't unravel. But on Yom Tov you can.
So
and Shmuel says no.
What the Bryce has said about Shabbos, and first of all, this Bryce is only talking about Chosma Shebakarka, which should be noted.
Yeah.
So we're not going to find anything about kalim. It's not really the issue. The idea of kalim is not yet an issue. Later on, we will bring up that part of Shmuel. But right now, we're just talking about the Chosma Shebakarka of that part of Shmuel. This Brisa presents a contradiction to Shmuel, which the problem inherently is because Shmuel's an Amora, and if this is a Brisa, that means it's a Tana. He's not allowed to argue with the Tana.
Yeah.
But which point is it actually at odds with Shmuel? What the Brisa says about Shabbos, or what the Brisa says about Yom Tov?
About Yom Tov.
About Yom Tov.
Yeah. The Brisa says he's permitted to do it on Yom Tov, these various things, but Shmuel says no. On Shabbos you can, but on Yom Tov you cannot. No.
Right. What were we going to say, Sruli?
Well, so the steer of the Bryces between Shmuel 1 and another, right?
Shmuel 1? What do you mean Shmuel 1?
One Bryce, two Bryces, right?
We don't have two Bryces yet. We're just dealing right now with the first Brysa as it's presented is a steer to Shmuel. And we're going to end up having three Bryces, actually. Yeah, three Bryces. We'll even have another three Bryces later on, which is interesting, when we present the question of burning kalim on Yom Tov. There we have three Bryces as well. right now, concerning this subject of Chosma Shebekarka, we have 3 brises. Okay? Sruli?
Yeah, 3 verses.
But you and I in Shabbat time, we're only right now dealing with the first brisa, which the Gemora had brought to do what? With what intention did the Gemora bring the first brisa? Meisvei.
To argue against it.
To
argue.
Well, I don't like to argue. Right?
Yeah.
I shouldn't say we like to argue, but what are we trying to do?
To raise opposition.
To show that Shmuel's wrong. If we can show that Shmuel's wrong, we will have clarified the halacha, because Shmuel was espousing the halacha. If we can show that he's wrong, we're one step closer to knowing the true halacha. So it would be a mistake to say we're trying to argue. It is a type of an argument, but that's not really what the Gemora is up to. We're not trying to argue. We're trying to find the truth. Okay, so how would you present it, Sruli?
Find the truth.
Shmuel said A, and the Beitsa says B. Show me exactly what Shmuel says that the Beitsa contradicts.
Shmuel says that Chomesh Shebekalim.
The what?
Chosma Shebekalim, right?
But that's not the part that we're going to find at odds with the first Beitsa. The first Beitsa is only dealing with Chosma Shebekarka, so
Chosma Shebekalim.
don't even talk about Chosma Shebekalim at this point, because that's not the issue. Shmuel talked about both, it's true. He talked about Chosma Shebekarka, Chosma Shebekalim. But when the Gemora brings the first Meisvei, the first Kasha from the first Beitsa,
Yeah.
it's only regarding what?
Chosma Shebekarka.
Okay, if you're convinced of that, we can go on, but you're right. But if you're not convinced of it, you can look in the Gemora. Meisvei says it's talking about
Chosma Shebekalim.
correct. So don't even bring up Chosma Shebekalim at this point.
Yeah.
So in Chosma Shebekarka, focus on what did Shmuel say and what does the Beitsa say. Don't tell me everything Shmuel said, just tell me the one part where Shmuel said A and the Beitsa says B. Streamline the question. How could Shmuel say
A.
when the Beitsa says on that exact same thing, B? Now you tell me what are A and B. What did Shmuel say that we're questioning?
Shmuel said what? You read about Chosma Shebekalim. You know what I mean?
I want to hear what he said that the Beitsa. If you want to look at the Meisvei and try to see the exact point that the Gemora is asking a Meisvei on.
Chosma Shebekalim Shebekalim.
Don't just repeat the whole Meisvei. Meisvei is a Beitsa, so it's going to be a lot of things in the Beitsa, and maybe not everything in the Beitsa is going to be applicable to our question. I want to know what part of the Meisvei is the exact question on Shmuel.
Chosma Shebekalim. Concerning Chosma Shebekalim.
Okay, that's the general subject, but that doesn't help me yet.
It says on Shabbos Yudala entirely not to take a part of Kappa.
Is it the part about Shabbos that's difficult?
No, it's very important. Yom
Then
Tov.
don't mention it.
Yom Tov, he holds you're allowed to take them.
Who's he?
Shmuel.
Shmuel said what?
Concerning by Siri, you're only allowed
He distinguishes between Shabbos and Yom Tov? Does Shmuel distinguish between Shabbos and Yom Tov?
Yes.
No, he says Echad Shabbos, Echad Yom Tov.
Yeah.
But go back and look at Shmuel. Reread Shmuel right now, quickly.
Shmuel says Chosma Shebekalim.
I don't want to hear it, just in your own mind. Just look at it and tell me if you really think he distinguishes between Shabbos and Yom Tov, or they're all the same. You see at the end of Shmuel,
Yeah.
he says Echad Shabbos, Echad Yom Tov.
Correct.
What does that mean?
Other Shabbos or Yom Tov.
What does that mean?
You
Are
know,
they the same halacha Shabbos and Yom Tov, or are they different halachas?
Same halacha.
Same halachas. Okay. So tell me again, what does it say in the Meisvei Beitsa that is exactly the part that's difficult on Shmuel?
He says that on Shabbos you're allowed to.
But it's not Shabbos that's bothering us.
On Yom Tov, you know. On Yom Tov, you're allowed to do all 3. Concerning Yom Tov.
Who says that?
Shmuel.
No, he doesn't make any distinction between Shabbos and Yom Tov. Just like on Shabbos you can only be matir but not mafkir chotech,
So Tsama Yom Tov you're not allowed to.
So, when does he say you can do all three?
On Yom Tov.
Does Shmuel say you can do all three on Yom Tov?
No.
Not in Karka, right? Maybe you're looking at his Shita and the Chosma Shabbat Kalim. We're talking about Chosma Shabbat Karka. No, he does not say you can do all three. What does he say?
He says that you could do all three.
What?
Whether Shabbos or Yom Tov.
Who says that?
Shmuel.
He says you can do all three on Shabbos. I'm sorry, in Bekarka.
No, Canaan.
Okay, but the Meisve is talking about which kind of Chosmos, Kalim or Karka.
Karka.
So don't even bring up Kalim. You're confusing yourself by looking at Shmuel's position on Kalim. That's not relevant because we're not talking about that. The Meisve is on Karka. So it doesn't matter what Shmuel said about Kalim.
Chosma Shabbat Karka, you hold to allowed to undo them, I would not take them apart.
I mean, take apart is not the right word. You're untie the knots.
You're allowed to untie, but not to mafkir l'chote.
Right. Not to unravel the rope and not to cut off the rope.
Okay.
Now, what does the Beitsa say that is contrary to Shmuel? Try to focus.
So then he talks about the Beitsa says of Chosma Shabbat Karka Shabbos. Holy, no, you're allowed to untie them, you're not allowed to unravel or take apart.
Is that like Shmuel?
Yeah?
Yes, that's like Shmuel. So that's not the question, is it?
No.
So what part is the question?
It's concerning Yom Tov.
What does it say there?
Yom Tov Matir, Mafkir, you hold on Yom Tov, Chosma Shabbat Karka, I do all three.
Right.
You're allowed to do all three.
The Beitsa says.
The Beitsa says you're allowed to do all three.
And is that like Shmuel?
No.
No. So what exact part of it is difficult?
Yom Tov.
Yom Tov. Chosma Shabbat Karka on Yom Tov. But the Beitsa says you can do
You're allowed to do all three.
all three. But Shmuel holds
You're not allowed to do all three.
not allowed to do. What are you allowed to
You're
do?
allowed to untie, but not to unravel or take
Okay,
apart.
so in the one that he said you can do, the Beitsa said also you can do. Right? You can untie the knot.
Yeah.
So that part doesn't bother us. They're both in agreement on that.
Yep.
So what part, again, is the part that the Beitsa says one thing but he says another? Regarding Chosma Shabbat Karka
Correct.
on
Yom Tov.
Yom Tov. And regarding which act, which of the three?
Matir,
No, that everybody agrees you can do.
the other two.
So what are the other two? Mafkia
And Chosek.
and Chosek. There the Beitsa says,
You're not allowed.
if you look inside, don't guess.
You're allowed to do all three. You're allowed to do Mafkir and Chosek, and Shmuel says you're not allowed to.
Right, that's right. The Beitsa says you're allowed to on Yom Tov, and Shmuel says you're not allowed to, because Shmuel says the same as Shabbos. So that's the machlokes, Shmuel's opinion about on Yom Tov, whether you can be mafkia and chotech.
Yeah.
He says no. Beitsa says
Yes.
yes. Okay? That's focusing on the exact point of the machlokes. You got it?
Yes.
Now, okay, Shabbat, are you good with that?
Yes.
So what's the answer of the Gemora?
So then the Gemora asks a question.
You know, it's a rhetorical question.
Is this Beitsa? Who wrote this Beitsa?
That's a rhetorical question.
Oh, okay.
So it's an answer.
Yeah.
So the Gemara answers, let's say it not with all its full-blown whatever, because you don't want to read it inside. So just get down to the crux of the matter. What in the crux of the matter? What is the Gemara answering? This Beitsa is not difficult on Shmuel because
He disagrees with this Beitsa.
that's showing that it's difficult. That was the difficulty. He's not allowed to disagree with the Beitsa.
He's an Amora.
He's an Amora. The Beitsa is a
yeah.
Tana, so that was the kasha.
Yeah.
You're repeating the kasha.
I should have said
I'm asking you, why is it? What's the answer to that?
He
The answer to
agrees
that
with the
is
he agrees with the rabbis.
no. You don't want to say it like that. You want to deflect the question. The question was the Beitsa is saying Shmuel is wrong in these 2 points of whether you can be chotech and mafkia on Yom Tov. The Beitsa says you can, and he said you can't. The answer is that doesn't bother us. Why doesn't that bother us? Because this Beitsa is. That's right. That's the answer.
Okay. Which he doesn't agree.
Which clearly we already know from the Mishnah. You have Rabbi Meir versus the Tana Kama, which means the Rabbanan. So all you need to deflect it is just those simple words. This Beitsa is not difficult because it's only Rabbi Meir, Ashitas Yachid.
This price of the Meisver is Rabbi Meir.
The first Beitsa that we bring for the Meisvet is, the Gemora says, is only Rabbi Meir, and that doesn't at all rank as a question against Shmuel, because Shmuel goes like the Chachamim. And how do we know there's a Chachamim who argue with Rabbi Meir? Look at the our Mishnah. That's our Mishnah. Okay?
Yeah.
Then the Gemora says, but you can't say that. You know why you can't say that?
Because the rabbis agree.
Because we have another Beitsa.
Yeah. We're in the rabbis.
We're in that second Beitsa.
Moadim.
It says the Rabbanan are Modim. Moadim of the holidays.
Okay. What?
Modim was like we say in Shemona Esrei. Modim anachnu. We admit, we agree to Hashem.
So this Beitsa now agrees, right, with what Rabbi Shmuel.
No, it's against Shmuel.
Is that against Shmuel?
Yes, that's the point. The answer of the first answer we gave. What was the first answer we gave? Essentially, the Beitsa you brought is not applicable because Shmuel's going like the Rabbanan, and the Rabbanan don't agree with this. Mm-hmm. The second Beitsa, however, says what?
No,
you're wrong.
They agree.
The Rabbanan do agree with that.
Right.
So this is again the same exact question all over again on Shmuel. You said you're not allowed to be chotech and mafkia on Yom Tov. The Beitsa says you are, and don't hide behind say it's Rabbi Meir because it says clearly it's the Rabbanan. Clear, black on white. So now we think we for sure have a knockout punch against Shmuel.
Shmuel's going to come back.
Shmuel's a fighter, right? Shmuel's knocked down twice, gets back up. And this is where it pays to know all the Beitsas, because he has one more Beitsa up his sleeve, and it turns out that Beitsa vindicates Shmuel. The third Beitsa finally vindicates Shmuel. Why?
Because it's to do with Mishka Mesh. Is it?
What?
It's to do with the specificity of the instrument that you're using.
No, you're getting to a second question which comes much later. You're jumping the gun. Remember, the only problem we have right now is what? What Shmuel said about Chosma Shabakarka on Yom Tov regarding only 2 specific things. Mafkia and Chosef, right? He said you cannot do them. The Beitsas that we have found so far have said you could do them. So it looks like he's wrong. All we have to do now is to show what? That there's a third Beitsa that we weren't aware of apparently. And that Beitsa what? What do we need to do right now? What logistically, what do we need to do at this point in the Gemora? Who's under attack?
Shmuel.
So what do we need to do?
Bring support for Shmuel.
Right, to bail him out, to defend him. How are we going to defend him? We've already found 2 brises against him. How are we going to defend him? What could possibly be a defense if we have brises against him? What could possibly a person, an Amora say? You're right. You show me there are Tanoim against me. So what could he possibly do to defend himself?
Show me a Baraisa that's for me.
Right. There's at least one Tana that's for me. You might have brought a number of Tanoim who are against me, but I can show you a Tana who's like me, who's for me, who's on my side. That's enough to defend myself. Even if you show me certain Tanoim are against me, but at least I have one Tana to back me up. So that's the third Brisa. We found a Brisa that what? Backs up Shmuel on the point that he was saying one way, and the first 2 Brises were saying differently. What's that point again? Chos Moshe Karka, regarding Yom Tov, and regarding those 2 activities, Chosech and Mafkia. That he was saying it's Asur, and we found 2 Brises say it's Mutter. But this third Brisa goes ahead and says what?
It's
has to back him up. How are we going to back him up? By showing that they are Asur, like he said. Not just on Shabbos, but even on Yom Tov. Right? Does the third Brisa do that?
Yes.
Yes. Read me the third Brisa. That's at the top of the next page.
Shmuel says that there's Tanya. This Tanya, the Tanya that taught in the Beitsa. Chos Moshe Karka matter. Ropes in the ground, you know, untie them. Of a low mafkia, of a low chosech, you're not allowed to unravel or cut them apart.
So far, that's not yet a defense for Shmuel, because maybe it's only talking on Shabbos. Maybe it's not talking on Yom Tov. We need it saying on Yom Tov that's true. Do you have it saying on Yom Tov it's true, what you just read? Oh, there we go. Now it's saying exactly what Shmuel said, that that's true both on Shabbos and on Yom Tov. That means even on Yom Tov it's Asur, according to this Brisa, to be what? Chosech and Mafkia.
Yeah.
So that is, Baruch Hashem, at least one Tana who's supporting Shmuel. So that should be the end of the matter. That should be enough to just walk away from the fight. The problem is, this Brisa goes on. And in the Hemshech of what it says, there's going to be a new Kasha on Shmuel. But the first Kasha is already answered. Okay?
Yep.
What's the first Kasha? He said it's also to be Chosech Mafkia on Yom Tov, but we found Brisa that said it's Mutter.
Yeah.
The answer is we now found a new Brisa that says that it's Asur, even on Yom Tov. Okay?
Yes.
Now the problem is, till now we're always talking about Chos Moshe Karka. The problem is this new Brisa that we brought, the third Brisa, which is like Shmuel in one respect, but look what it says about Chos Moshe Kalim. In that respect, it's going to be different than Shmuel. Because Shmuel talked about both. The 2 Brisas we brought against Shmuel didn't talk about both, but now Shmuel, who did talk about both, this third Brisa turns out is going to be against Shmuel on the other score. Chos Moshe Kalim. Right? That's the problem. This third Brisa goes overboard. It not only talks about Chos Moshe Karka, which is what we needed, it also talks about Chos Moshe Kalim, and what it says about Chos Moshe Kalim is not like Shmuel. So the thing we brought to defend Shmuel will turn out to be a kasha stira on Shmuel, right? So basically we shot ourselves in the foot. On the one hand, it supported him in what it said about Chos Moshe Karka. Yes, it was exactly like Shmuel had predicted. But it's not like Shmuel in the other thing that Shmuel had asserted, which is Chos Moshe Kalim. That according to Shmuel, Chos Moshe Kalim, what? What does Shmuel say about Chosma Shebekalim?
You can
Do all
use all
three.
You do all three, both on Shabbos and on Yom Tov.
But this brass is no.
But this
no.
Beitsa, when it talks about Chosma Shebekalim, says specifically what? On. Read it.
You can do all three.
That's on Shebekli. Shebekli.
Yeah.
Okay. So, in what part is against Shmuel?
Okay.
No, but what part of Kalim is against Shmuel?
Oh.
Just like before, when we talked about Karka, we had to specify which one is really against Shmuel.
Well, here it's differentiating Shabbos from Yom Tov.
So which part is against Shmuel?
Yom
The
Tov.
part about Shabbos or the part about Yom Tov?
Yom Tov.
What does it say about Yom Tov?
It says, no nefkia, no
What?
chotech.
Where does it say that?
So am I reading the wrong place?
That's on Shabbos. Third line.
Yeah.
Shebekli.
Shebekli,
B'Shabbos.
Yeah.
Then-
and Kadet Shabbos. B'Yom Tov Matir, Mifakia v'chotech.
So is that like Shmuel?
Is that like Shmuel? No, it's not like Shmuel.
Which part is not like Shmuel?
This part.
What part?
The Yom Tov Matir. You can
Now
listen
look back at Shmuel. Look back at Shmuel. Previous page. Look back at Shmuel.
Yeah.
What did he say about Chosma Shebekalim?
Oh, but Kalim you can do all three.
All three.
Mhm.
Both on Shabbos and Yom Tov.
Right.
So the part about Yom Tov is not difficult on Shmuel. That's exactly what he said. You could do all three.
Right.
What part is difficult?
Shabbos.
What the Bryce is saying about
Yeah, Shabbos. Matir of our Lord, Matir of our Lord, Chotech.
So it's
you guys have it straight. I hear dissension in the ranks here. You're
Shabbos.
saying Shabbos, you're saying Yom Tov, and
This is Shabbos.
get it straight, guys.
Shabbos.
Because what it says about Yom Tov, what does it say about Yom Tov? Essentially,
Cannot do it on Yom.
what does the Bryce say about Yom
You're
Tov?
allowed to do all three.
That what?
You're allowed to do
You're allowed to do all three. Is that like Shmuel?
No.
Yes.
Yeah.
He said, when Chosma Shebekalim, look at the previous page, Amar Shmuel,
Yes.
previous page, Amar Shmuel, up, 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 up. Amar Shmuel, the beginning of the line, Amar Shmuel.
Yeah, I have it. Chosma Shebekalim, Matir, Mafkir, V'Chosech. Echad Shabbos, Echad Yom Tov.
So Shmuel Shita is you can
Do all three.
both on Shabbos and on Yom Tov. And here the Bryce is saying you can do it on Yom Tov. Is that against Shmuel?
No.
No. That's like Shmuel. You can do all three on Yom Tov. What part's not like Shmuel?
On Shabbos.
On Shabbos. Because on Shabbos, Shmuel said you could
Could
do
all three.
all three. He didn't differentiate between Shabbos and Yom Tov. But this Bryce is saying no. On Shabbos, you can only be matir, but you can't be
Mafkir, V'Chosech.
So it turns out the kasha here is in reverse, the same kasha we had before on Shmuel. What you're saying about chotech and mafkia, this Bryce is saying is wrong. You said you could be chotech and mafkia even on Shabbos. Because you don't differentiate between Shabbos and Yom Tov. You say you can, if it's Shebekalim, you can do it. You can do all three. You said. This Bryce says that's not true. That if it's Shabbos,
Yeah.
you cannot be chotech u'mavkiya. Right? You said you can. Here it says you can't. Okay, so it's the opposite of the kasha that we had before on Shmuel. Before we had Shmuel when we're talking about Chosma Shebekarka, where he said you can't be chotech u'mavkiya, and the Bryces we found said you could be. Here's the opposite. Chosma Shebekalim, Shmuel said you can be chotech u'mavkiya, both on Shabbos and on Yom Tov. And this Bryce is saying
No.
you cannot if it is
supposed to be?
Shabbos.
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 It's so tricky to just go back and forth.
Very tricky. Very tricky, but that's a good way to find out if you know what's going on. If you're just fudging, then it gets tricky. It's clear. You know, it says in the Gemora in Kedushin that when you say V'shinantam levanecha, you know what that means? V'shinantam levanecha?
Teach your kids.
But the Gemora says there's more than that. It should be so clear that it should be shinunim beficha, like mamish, like fit in your mouth, like fit directly into your mouth. That means you should not be magamgin, Rashi says. You shouldn't say, well, I'm not sure, it could, well, maybe, no. Should be like that. Kalim, Shabbos, Yom Tov, Chotech, Kia. That, right? It should be like that. Right? I'm not being more severe than the Gemora in Kedushin. All I want you to do is get it to be shenunim beficha. Sharp. You know that I think Shmuel called Rabbi Yehuda Shinina.
Sharp.
My sharp one, right?
Teeth.
It's like sharp, you know, sharp mind, right? Wasn't a woodchucker that had sharp teeth. His mind was sharp, and he was praising him that he was a sharp guy. So when it says v'shinantam levanecha, that means it should be sharp in your mouth. It should be sharp, like clear, crisp, clear, without being megamgim, without saying Okay, so you have to try to get everything clear to the point where you could just say it like that.
Yep.
Okay. So. Chosmos Shebe Kalim. Shmuel had said, whether it be Shabbos or Yom Tov, you can be Mekel and do what?
Do all three.
All three. The Beitsa, however, differentiates and says that's only true on Yom Tov. But on Shabbos, no. You can only be Mavkiya, you can't be Chosim Mavkiya. So we have a kasha on Shmuel from the Seifa. True, the Rosh of this Beitsa talked about Chosun Shabakarka is exactly as Shmuel predicted. That you can only be Mavkiya, but you can't be Chotech and Mavkiya. Sorry, you can only be Matir, but you can't be Chotech and Mavkiya. And that is both on Shabbos and Yom Tov. That the Rosh of this Beitsa is perfect. But the Seifa of this Beitsa ends up being...
Sorry, can you say that again?
We said before that this is a Beitsa that supports Shmuel in the Rosh, which means Chos Moshe Bekarka. It's exactly as Shmuel had predicted. That you can be Matir, both on Shabbos and Yom Tov, but you cannot be Chotech and Mavkiya. Comes along the Seifa, however, and says regarding Chos Moshe Bekalim, Shabbos and Yom Tov are not the same. True, on Yom Tov you can do all three, like Shmuel had predicted, but on Shabbos that's not true according to this Beitsa. These two, but don't walk in front of the camera. Okay.
So the Rosh is talking about vessels, and the Seifa is talking about vessels, and the Rosh is talking about karka.
And it turns out that the Rashas, which was originally what we brought to support Shmuel, is very good.
Right.
But it turns out that that part might have been good, but the Seifa of that same Beitsa ends up boomeranging back against us and being bad. The Seifa, on one point in the Seifa, is against Shmuel. So the very thing we brought to support Shmuel, in the end, will destroy Shmuel, theoretically.
It still supports him though, right? But not on this particular point.
Again, it's always on one particular point. Yeah. You could say always, it was like him on one point, but that's not enough. If it's not like him on certain points, that's going to be a problem.
Mm-hmm. And now we're going to find out why.
Well, we have to answer. Now we're going to have to try to defend Shmuel again. We're back in the position of, oh my gosh, this is a Beitsa against Shmuel, at least on one level of what Shmuel was talking about. So how are we going to get out of this? We have to somehow defend Shmuel. We're back in that position of trying to defend Shmuel again.
Here comes Rabbi Nach.
Well, we're going to use Reb Nechemia as a vehicle for answering up, saying he's involved.
Ready.
Okay. So, now we say, but if just like we originally said, the first Beitsa we brought against Shmuel way back in the beginning, we said it can be explained that it's not against Shmuel because it's a particular shita that's not the halacha. Remember in the beginning we said it's Rabbi Meir and that's not the halacha. That's how we originally tried to defend Rabbi Shmuel, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So now we're going with a similar approach. This new Beitsa, which is somewhat problematic because it's saying on Shabbos you're not allowed to be chosech mafkia, even if it's chos mishabekalim. Well, we're saying perhaps that's because this Beitsa is going like whom?
This Beitsa is going like Shmuel.
No,
Yeah.
it's against Shmuel, we said.
So
Now, how can it be that it's against Shmuel and Shmuel will still not be knocked out? Because we'll say it might look like it's against Shmuel, but really it's a special shita of a particular Tana that we don't paskin like.
It's Reb Nechemia.
Reb Nechemia, exactly.
He's machmir even on Kalim, right?
That's right. He's machmer in regular kalim, not the kalim that we've been talking about. We've been talking about chos mishabekalim. He's talking about just regular kalim you have on the table at the end of the meal on Shabbos. What am I allowed to pick up? What am I not allowed to pick up? Turns out that Rabbi Nechemia does not just let you pick up kalim at random on Shabbos. All the other tanoim are okay with kalim. What's wrong with the kli? Especially if it's not malakta l'isser. If it's a hammer that's malakta l'isser, so we say, then you have to be careful only to use it at specific times. But it's still not muksa. But other kalim that are mutter, why should you not be allowed to pick it up? Comes Rabbi Nechemia as a special shita. Right? It's like you put Shabbos on a pedestal. Don't do anything extraneous on Shabbos. Don't pick up a kli unless you're really going to use it for its normal usage. That's how special Shabbos is. You don't just pick up kalim. Pick it up for its usage. It's like in the Queen, it's like in Buckingham Palace. Right? You think they just do things willy-nilly when they're serving the Queen? No, everything, the right spoon, the right fork, the right this, the right cup, right? You have to lift up your pinky, we're doing this, that, and the others. Everything's done like with a special rule. So that's how Rabbi Nechemia says. Should Shabbos be less than the Queen of England? Chas v'shalom. So there's rules. You don't just pick up a cup for nothing. You don't even pick it up for something extraneous, some other side usage. No. Pick up the cup for what it's supposed to be used for. Just like in the Queen's palace. You're supposed to use this spoon for that, and this knife for that. Nothing else. Everything has to follow the rules of etiquette. So Rabbi Nechemia says, what, Shabbos should be not as chashuv as the Queen of England? So he puts Shabbos on a pedestal. Don't you do anything on Shabbos that's not proper. So that's going to explain why in the seifa of this Beitsa that's talking about chos mishabekalim, that it says you're not allowed to be mafkia mechosech. Why? Because to be chosech, how are you chosech? How can you be chosech?
You need a knife.
You need a knife. Rashi even says, if you can manage to do it without a knife, gesund to hate. This Beitsa would let you do it. That's what the Gemora is saying now. The only issue is lifting up a knife. But if you can do it with your own hands, gesund to hate. No problem. Shmuel was right. You're allowed to do it essentially. Just if you have to lift up a knife to do it, this Beitsa holds it's usher. Why is it usher to pick up a knife to cut the rope? Because normally
You cut meat with a knife.
a knife is for food. Knife is for cutting food,
I'm not like cutting strings or...
but not for cutting strings, etc. So therefore, if you want to pick up a knife to cut these strings, Rabbi Nechemia would say, no, they wouldn't do that in the Queen's palace. So don't do it on Shabbos, which is Hashem's palace. But the Gemora says, if you can't do that on Shabbos, that's why you can't be chosech and mafkia on Shabbos, right? That's what we're saying. That the Beitsa says you can't do it on Shabbos because it's holding like Rabbi Nechemia.
Yeah.
Because it's improper to pick up a knife for that kind of thing. Then why does he let you do it on Yom Tov? Because on Yom Tov it says in the Beitsa you can do all three, like Shmuel said. So that was like, oh, it's like Shmuel. We're very happy. But now it turns out that's a bit strange. Because why would it say you can't do it on Shabbos because you're machmer like Rabbi Nechemia on Shabbos? Does that mean that somebody would say Rabbi Nechemia would only say it's usher on Shabbos to pick up a knife for that, but on Yom Tov you're allowed to pick up a knife for that? Is only Shabbos like the palace of the queen, but not Yom Tov? Yom Tov's also like a palace of the queen, according to Rabbi Nechemia. And we prove that. This part's geschmack. The Gemora proves that even on Yom Tov, Rabbi Nechemia's machmir not to let you what?
Use it for
pick up any kli for something that other than his proper use. What's the proof? Because we have a Beitsa that says what?
A knife.
No. Burning wooden chairs. You allowed to burn a wooden chair on Yom Tov?
No.
According to one of the Breises, no. Why not? What's wrong with putting a chair into the fire? Nice firewood.
That's not its proper use.
Oh. So that Breisa that's going like Rabbi Nechemia and saying you can't even put a full chair in the fire, it's talking about Yom Tov, right?
Yeah.
Because if it was Shabbos, you couldn't put it in because you can't burn a fire on Shabbos. But on Yom Tov, where you can burn a fire for specific reasons, the only question is, what kind of firewood are you supposed to use? So the Bryce is saying, don't put in a full chair. And that can't be going like Rabbi Shimon and Rabbi Yehuda, because they would let you put in a full chair. So who's that Bryce going like? Must be going like Rabbi Nechemia. And still it's saying on Yom Tov, the rules apply, just like on Shabbos, that you can't pick up a kli for something that not its proper usage. So therefore I have a proof that even Rabbi Nechemia would persist in his shita on Yom Tov just like he holds it to be true on Shabbos. So again, we're back to the Bryce. So why did the Bryce say on Shabbos you can't be chosech? If you tell me it's because of Rabbi Nechemia, then he should have been as machmir on Yom Tov and told you not to be chosech. But yet the Bryce says you can be chosech on Yom Tov. Why, if it's like Rabbi Nechemia, why are you picking up the knife to cut the rope on Yom Tov? It should be as usher as Shabbos.
Yes.
So the Gemora says a chiddush. The final teretz in the Gemora is Trei Tanoi Ve'aliba
Rabbi Nechemia.
Rabbi Nechemia. Meaning,
Two Tanoi we go according to
no, not according to.
Aliba means the hold.
Two Tanoim who
Aliba means the hold.
they are going according to him, but there's more to it than that. We're trying to explain why our Brisa said what? What are we trying to explain? Let's keep it straight.
Our Brisa says you are allowed
To do what?
you're allowed to use a wooden chair.
That was not our Brisa. That was an extra Brisa we brought in
Well, I'm using
to
it
try
now.
to prove what Rabbi Nechemia holds on Yom Tov. Our original Brisa was what? Where's our original Brisa?
Talk about 19 of Yerushalyim.
Right, on Yom Tov and on Shabbos. We had trouble because the Brisa says you cannot do all three on Shabbos, but Shmuel said you could. So we defended Shmuel by saying, it's not because the Brisa really holds against Shmuel, it's just because it's a special chumrah of Rabbi Nechemia about whether you can pick up the knife. So that Brisa is holding like Rabbi Nechemia or not?
It is holding like Rabbi Nechemia.
It is, and that's why you can't pick up the knife on...
Yom Tov.
No, it says you can be chosek on Yom Tov. Look at the Beitsa again. Shebekalim.
You can do all three by night.
Shebekalim.
Matu.
Shebekalim b'Shabbos.
Matu avalom avkir v'chosech.
So on Shabbos you can't be chosek according to the Beitsa, but on Yom Tov
You can be.
you do all three. So is this Beitsa holding like Rabbi Nechemia?
No.
Yes. That's why you can't be chosek on Shabbos, we said.
So is machmer and Yom Tov as well.
Just a second. Now we're saying Trey Tanoi Aliba de Rabbi Nechemia. That the first Beitsa, this Beitsa that we're saying on Shabbos, you what? What is the Beitsa saying about Shabbos?
You're not allowed.
Not allowed to be chosek. Is that going like Rabbi Nechemia? We said yes before. Our only question was, if it's going like Rabbi Nechemia, why can you be chosek on Yom Tov? And we proved with the chairs, right, throwing the chairs into the fire, that Rabbi Nechemia is machmer even on Yom Tov. Now we're saying it's trei tanoia liba de Rabbi Nechemia. What are we saying? That really there's a...
Three to nine.
That was true before with the chairs, but we're only talking about Rabbi Nechemia now. Don't talk about anyone else. In Rabbi Nechemia, can you pick up a kli on Yom Tov to do something other than its normal usage?
No.
Where do you see no?
By the chairs of Shabbos.
By the chairs. What?
Concerning the chairs of are you really allowed to throw it in the fire or not?
It's not Shabbos, that's Yom Tov.
Yeah.
And the chairs. Okay, good. He said you're not allowed to. But we're saying the first Beitsa way up at the top there, the first Beitsa at the top,
He says that
Shebekalim,
Shebekalim,
B'Shabbos, you can only be matur but not mafkir and chosech. But on Shabbos, not.
Yes.
We said, why not? Rabbi Nechemia. And we said, if it's Rabbi Nechemia, why are you allowed to do it on Yom Tov? Now we're saying, Trei Tanoi Aliba de Rabbi Nechemia. It's really a... They're both going according to Rabbi Nechemia, but they're two Tanoim. What does that mean, two Tanoim? That they are arguing. They are two Tanoim, like Rabbi Nechemia, but in one point they're arguing about what Rabbi Nechemia would hold, what, on Yom Tov.
It's tricky.
Very tricky. But that's got to get us, this is the only way we're going to get out of the problem. The first Beitsa that said you can't be chosek on Shabbos is Rabbi Nechemia. That everybody agrees.
And the second verse says...
Just a second. But in that same Beitsa said you could be chosek on Yom Tov, we're now maintaining what? Is that Rabbi Nechemia?
No.
Yes. But it's one particular Tana's opinion of Rabbi Nechemia.
So it's two to nine that argue...
According to his Shita, where will he go on Yom Tov? Everybody agrees he's machmer on Shabbos. But would he continue to be machmer on Yom Tov? That's a disagreement of these two Tanoim, Aliba de Rabbi Nechemia. In Rabbi Nechemia's Shita, they argue about whether he would go this way on Yom Tov to be more machmir, or this way on Yom Tov to be more mekel. So Shabbos, everyone agrees he's machmir. When it gets to Yom Tov, there's a parting of the ways of these two Tanoim. One says that Rabbi Nechemia will be what? Machmir on Yom Tov, just like he was on Shabbos.
One says he's not machmir.
Right. And the one that says he's machmir is which Tana? Where do you find that Tana regarding the chairs and the fire? Because that one says that what? Are you allowed to throw a chair into the fire on Yom Tov? No, that's according to the one that says on Yom Tov, Rabbi Nechemia would continue to be machmir.
Talking about Shmuel and...
No, we haven't gotten to Shmuel.
No, sorry, I mean...
Shmuel was already answered in the beginning.
I mean, Yehuda and...
No, don't even think about that.
Right.
That's a whole different ballgame. That's a question of the Shivrei Kalim part. That has to do with the Shivrei Kalim. That's not... It's good to talk about in terms of three Bryces that all say different things. It's good to find three different Tanoim to answer that up. But as far as our thread, we have one particular thread that we're trying to thread the needle with. Okay? We said Rabbi Nechemia is Machmir, but we weren't sure about Yom Tov. Is he Machmir even on Yom Tov? Well, we found our original Beitsa said no, but that went against another Beitsa that we found. So now we're going to say it's true. One Beitsa says he's Machmir on Yom Tov. One Beitsa implies that he's not Machmir on Yom Tov. And that's because there's actually a Machlokas Tanoim in Shitas Rabbi Nechemia. Would he be Machmir on Yom Tov as well as Shabbos? Or would he be Mekel on Yom Tov, just like a lot of people are Mekel, like we said before, Rabbi Meir's Mekel on Yom Tov and a bunch of things, right? To be Mekel on Yom Tov is understandable. For Simchas Yom Tov, for Oichel Nefesh, and all of that, we can understand how Rabbi Nechemia could decide to be Mekel on Yom Tov. Okay?
Yep.
So now we're saying what? Huh?
The whole couple, a lot of information.
A lot of information, right? Now, if you say it like this, you will have scored, right? Because it's shinantam. You should be shinuni, right? You shouldn't be megamgim, right? That's what you're aiming for. So try to get to the point where you can just shoot them off, okay? Now, let's just do it one more time. So there's a machlokus according to the Maskana of our Gemora in Shitas Rabbi Nechemia. Two particular Tanoim, and therefore two different Beitsas, and each one is an author of a different Beitsa. In one we find the opinion that Rabbi Nechemia would be what? Machmir on, even on Yom Tov, just like on Shabbos. And the other one says, no, he'll be Mekel on Yom Tov, even though he's Machmir on Shabbos. Right. Now, where do we find the one that says he'll be Mekel on Shabbos, even though he's Machmir on Yom Tov? Shabbos, what? No, there we find him being Machmir on Yom Tov. He says, don't throw that chair in. That's the Beitsa that said you're not allowed to throw any chairs into the fire, neither shivrei kelim nor shleimi. That's the Beitsa that says you're not allowed to throw even full whole chairs into the fire. He's saying he's machmer on Yom Tov to say don't pick up that chair, because the chair is for sitting in, not for burning.
Yeah.
So that's going according to the Tana that says Rabbi Nechemia is what? Machmir, even on Yom Tov. But the Tana who holds Rabbi Meir would be Mekel on Yom Tov. Where do we find him?
Which Beitsa?
On the Beitsa that we originally quoted, which was what?
Shabbos.
Where we're talking about Choseichem Avkiya.
Yeah.
That we had a Beitsa at the top of the page instead of Chos Moshe B'Kelim. On Shabbos, we can only be matir, but we can't be Choseichem Avkiya. But on Yom Tov we're allowed to do all three. So we said, you know why you can't be Chosech on Shabbos? Because it's Rabbi Nechemia. And he won't let you what?
Do anything
Pick up the knife to cut that rope.
Because a knife is used for eating.
That's right, it's not the normal usage. But he's letting you do it on Yom Tov. Because this is a Tana, the other Tana, who holds...
Even though he's Machmir on Shabbos, he's Mekel on
He's Mekel on Yom Tov. And he'll let you pick up that knife to cut the rope on Yom Tov.
It's beautiful once you get it.
Yeah, well...
It hurts your head.
You know how long my son had to work till he tied his shoes? Now he doesn't have to think about it anymore. It's a long time we have to work on it. Or ride his bicycle. A long time to learn to ride his bicycle now.
One in Haifa?
I don't want to say Rosh. One of my children. The point is, yeah, sometimes you have to work, but I'll never forget how hard he worked, because he wanted to ride a bicycle like every other child. Kept getting on that bicycle and falling off. Yeah, falling off. Again, falling off. And again, falling off. Again, falling off.
You also
He's a masochist? No, he just wanted to be like all the other children. And finally, Baruch Hashem, he learned how to do it.
Broke through.
Yep, even before his bar mitzvah.
Wow.
So the point is, you can do it as well, right? You want to know this clearly, just go over it again, again, and again. If you fall off, get back on the bicycle. All right, is the sugya clear?
Yeah, but you have to have a bit of a serious nefesh to want to break through. Otherwise,
You ever learn the Gemora that talks about Rava, how he used to learn?
no.
When the Tzeduki found him learning, and his hands were underneath his feet. Never heard? It's a beautiful Gemora. The whole Gemora on Pei Ches and Shabbos about Kabbalah Torah. It ends off with that story about Rava and the Tzeduki. And the Tzeduki came up to Rava, and Rava was sitting and learning. He wasn't even aware that his hands were underneath the heels of his feet. He was learning in such a weird position. His hands were like underneath the heels of his feet. And the Tzeduki looked down and he saw Rava's fingers were bleeding. Blood was coming out of his fingertips because he was mamish stepping on his fingers. Blood was gushing out, or dripping out. Said the Tzeduki, Paziza, you're a brazen nation that you don't even think before you do. Look what you do. Your fingers are bleeding. What did Rava say? This is the nation that Hashem gave the Torah to, because we love Hashem so much that we don't even think about that when we're trying to understand His Torah. One thing, understand the Torah. Everything else doesn't exist. That's why it says, Zos Chukas Torah. This is the law of Torah. We know what the law of Torah is? Adam ki yamus ba'ohel. That's the law of the Torah. The way to understand Torah, the way to really know Torah,
It's to toil.
Adam ki yamus ba'ohel. That's a pasuk in the Chumash. The Gemora says, Ein, right? Ein divrei Torah miskaimim. They can't exist, they can't endure. El b'misha menis atzmo olel. You have to kill yourself over the words of Torah, like Rava did. But for most of us, we don't have to sit with our fingers bleeding underneath our feet. It's just enough to just go over it again, go over it again, and go over it again, and go over it again, and again, till all of a sudden, like my son with his bicycle, it suddenly comes naturally.
Or to push yourself or to concentrate also maybe. So.
But now get it. You work this hard, get it. Say it one more time. Say all the shitas. Start with Shmuel. I told you yesterday. Everything follows with Shmuel. If you have Shmuel clear like a crystal glass.
He spoke about HaKodesh Shabbakarka. One verse he holds.
On
Shabbos.
Shmuel. Just start with Shmuel. Shmuel. Chum. Shmuel. Chum.
He holds that you're not allowed to do all three, whether it's Shabbos or Yom Tov.
Okay. Don't even talk about Shabbos and Yom, because in him it's all the same. That's just the first step. Shabbos and Yom Tov are the same, so you don't have to talk about that anymore. Whatever you say from now on will apply to both Shabbos and Yom Tov.
He holds you're allowed to be matzah, but not give a chayesech. And the second verse seems to
No, not Bryce's. Shmuel. Just Shmuel. Shmuel. No. Shmuel. Before all the Bryces. Shmuel was the beginning of the whole sugya. Just talk about Shmuel. Don't talk about anything else other than Shmuel. What does Shmuel say? Just don't talk about anything other than Shmuel.
He holds it.
Chos Moshe Karka, one halacha. Chos Moshe Kalim, a different halacha. That's all you have to remember. Because Shabbos and Yom Tov are the same. The only thing difference is
you're not allowed to do all three. You're allowed to do all three.
correct. So that's much easier to remember. Chos Moshe Kalim. According to Shmuel, you can do all three. But now go back to Karka. What can't you do? Because it's Karka's more machmir. That's right. And those become the two main subjects for the whole sugya. Now you focused on Chosech HaMavkiya. Those are really the two ones that you have to burn into your brain. Because those are the two ones that are hard to remember. Because on Chos Moshe Kalim you can do everything. So you don't have to remember anything in particular. You can do everything. And chos Moshe b'karka, you can be matir. So the only ones you really have to remember are chos Moshe b'karka, you can't be chosech mafkia. And that's going to be the problem. We're going to find Beitsa number 1. It says you can be chosech mafkia. We said like Rabbi Meir. Found Beitsa number 2 that said even the Rabbanan say you can be chosech mafkia, not like Shmuel again.
Yes.
And we find Beitsa number 3 that agreed with Shmuel that both on Shabbos and Yom Tov, if it's chos Moshe b'karka, you can't be chosech mafkia. Okay, so it becomes very clear. We're only talking about chosech mafkia. That's the main contention. He said you can't do them. We found 2 Beitsas you can do them. Found a 3rd Beitsa where you can't do them.
2 Beitsas you can do it, and 1 Beitsa says that you can't do it.
And how we dealt with that, how we explained each Beitsa, etc. Okay, but the main thing is chosech mafkia. Now we have the opposite problem in chos Moshe b'kelim in that 3rd Beitsa where it says on Shabbos you cannot be chosech mafkia. Again, you can't be chosech mafkia. That's according to that Beitsa. Whereas on Yom Tov you can do all 3. So on Yom Tov it's exactly like Shmuel said. You can do all 3. The problem is Shabbos that he said if it's kelim you can do all 3. This one's saying you can't. You can't be chosech mafkia. Again, we're back to chosech mafkia. Okay?
Yes.
And then we drag in Rabbi Nechemia. We say, oh, really could be chosech mafkia if you did it with your hands. The problem is if you have to pick up a kli to do it, a knife or a scissors or something else, no, Rabbi Nechemia won't let you. Because there's special shita that he holds. You only have to pick up kelim like the queen for the proper usage. Get it?
Yes.
Then the Gemora says, wait a minute. Then why can you do it on Yom Tov? You can't do it on Shabbos. Shouldn't be able to do it on Yom Tov. And we prove that Rabbi Nechemia holds you can't do it on Yom Tov from the kelim and the fire. Throwing the chairs into the fire. He said you can't throw a regular chair into a fire. That must be Rabbi Nechemia. And it must mean that even on Yom Tov you can't. That Rabbi Nechemia is machmir. So we say, you're right, there is a Tana like that. But we have to be HaKodesh that there's 2 different Tanoim arguing about Shitas Rabbi Nechemia. Okay, so the main problem of chosech mafkia we've taken care of way back when. And Shmuel was vindicated. He's right. Or he's not wrong. Okay, it's just a side point. Can Rabbi Nechemia be explained on Shabbos, on Yom Tov, etc.? But we don't even paskin like Rabbi Nechemia. So the truth of the matter is, if you want to just concentrate on Shmuel, Shmuel is already vindicated.
Yes.
Okay, we'll stop here.
Oh, yeah.